We are continuing to follow key primaries leading up to November's general election. Next up, Wyoming's highly anticipated primary coming up Tuesday with Representative Liz Cheney. So a lot there. We'll bring in Newsmax correspondent Christina Thompson standing by live in the newsroom. Christina has the details. Good morning.
Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney is the last of the GOP lawmakers who voted to impeach former President Donald Trump. And as irony would have it, she's facing a Trump-endorsed candidate.
I will do everything I can to ensure that the former president never again gets anywhere near the Oval Office.
Congresswoman Cheney has led questioning in the January 6th hearings, and her opponent is Harriet Hageman, an experienced land and water attorney. So environmental law will likely be one of Hageman's bread and butter issues if elected to Congress.
As an attorney, I have been fighting the federal government and unelected bureaucrats for decades.
The latest poll shows Hageman widening her already large lead in recent days amongst Wyoming voters. And Cheney's January 6th committee efforts apparently not moving the needle much in terms of public opinion. This race between a scion of Wyoming politics and a Trump-endorsed newcomer has gripped the cowboy state for months. Hageman supporters are not hard to find.
In the primary, I and my husband also are supporting Hageman. We feel that she's a better representative for us.
Tell you what, I voted for Cheney when she ran last time, and I won't vote for her ever again.
Supporters of Congresswoman Cheney point to what they see as a principled stand.
She has our country in mind with everything she does.
Meanwhile, some Democrats are switching to GOP to vote in the primary.
I'm a perfect example of how her behavior in Washington has helped her.
So for the primary this Tuesday, you must be a registered party voter in order to cast your ballot. Back to you.
All right. Again, that primary happening Tuesday. Christina Thompson, thank you.
Focusing in on Washington's 3rd congressional district, which saw a major political realignment. Green Beret veteran and Trump-endorsed Joe Kent defeating incumbent Republican Jaime Herrera Beutler, who was one of 10 Republicans that had voted to impeach the former president. So following Kent's victory, former President Trump congratulating him on Truth Social, saying Joe Kent just won an incredible race against all odds in Washington state. Importantly, he knocked out yet another impeacher, Jaime Herrera Beutler, who so stupidly played right into the hands of the Democrats. Joe's a wonderful guy who bravely served our country as a Green Beret. He has a truly bright future. Congratulations, Joe. And he joins us now again. Now a candidate for Washington's 3rd District, retired Green Beret and Gold Star husband, Joe Kent. Welcome back to National Report. How you feeling today?
Thanks so much for having me on. We're feeling really good. You know, really proud of the work that my team put in, and just honored to have this nomination and to go forward into November and fight.
And that's, of course, what we'll be watching. That's the next step. But before we get to November, if you could just sort of weigh in on the voting process. Your race in particular took such a long time to calculate all the votes. Tell me about what that experience was like for you.
Well, it was definitely a nail biter. I mean, we knew that we were going to have a really strong turnout. We knew that most of our people in the America First movement were going to hold on to their ballots until actually election day. Out here in Washington state, we mail out the ballots about 2 weeks ahead of the actual election day. So folks had already been voting for quite a while. So the initial tallies that came in at this point a week and a half ago, they had us down. But we knew that as the votes got tabulated, that we were going to start gaining traction. And so it really came down to the wire up until about this last Tuesday when we overcome the incumbent, just thanks to all of our folks turning out in mass numbers. We exceeded the presidential general election of 2020 in this district, in this primary. But we knew that most of our folks were going to hold on to their ballots until the very end. So the game day voters really came through for us.
Yeah, and now you'll be facing Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez in November. So we'll be watching. Joe, I wanted to get your take on what we saw happen earlier this week in Florida, the FBI raid on former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate, the Attorney General coming out yesterday and confirming that he did indeed sign off on the search warrant. He did approve it, I should say. Tell me about what stands out to you, what we saw took place this week.
We're just seeing our national security state run completely and totally amok, and they're going after not just former President Trump. They went after President Trump. They invaded his private residence, which is completely and totally unprecedented. It's never happened before. It's a drastic overreach. Now they have this crazy narrative that Trump somehow had nuclear secrets, and they expect people to believe that. But really, this just shows the full scope of what the FBI, what the national security state is really up to. They're targeting all of their political opposition. And I think this is very alarming. I spent a long time in the third world fighting against authoritarian regimes. And now we're seeing the Biden regime use the exact same tactics that these third world dictators use. They're using the national security state as a Praetorian Guard to go after the former president, who we know is probably going to run again, but also to go against, parents that show up at school board meetings because they dissent from the regime's narrative. Everything, I think, really traces back to not just the Russiagate investigation, but also I went after and I took out one of the impeachment voters who also voted for the January 6th commission. So a lot of the January 6th narrative about how these Trump supporters are dangerous insurrectionists and we need to turn the tools of the national security state against them really starts with this January 6th commission and narrative. And so I'm really alarmed by the overreach of the national security state. And this has to be something that we're going to take on head on in January of 2023.
Yeah, and that's what was leading to my next question. Again, it's anticipated that Republicans would take control of the House. There's some questions about what the Senate shakeup might look like. But what should be a top priority for Republicans come January?
J.P. Morgan's CEO is warning that an economic hurricane is coming. Are you preparing? If you don't do anything, your 401k could be a 201k, and that is not good. So call our trusted friends at Lear Capital. For 25 years, Lear has helped investors own gold to protect against market chaos. It's a good thing. They can help you too. Get your information and up to $15,000 in bonus IRA gold. Just call this number, 800-880-4300. That's 800-880-4300.